Price has a similar setup to what Bitcoin has going on, per the Bitcoin video that I recorded today on November 15th. There's an ascending origin line that is acting as massive resistance, right? And this goes back to the very beginning of Ethereum's price action. Very important origin line. Bitcoin is playing with the same thing. Each of them have, I guess, a range lows, and they're trying to see if they can get above here. So it's essentially a battle of which will break first. This support, or will the resistance break first? That's literally the only war that's going on right now with technically Bitcoin and Ethereum price. And it's going to be obvious when the next expansion, when honestly, on a larger time frame like 2 days, things are already expanding. But you're going to have oscillations within that larger time frame that you can't see on that big time frame. But if you were to zoom in on a microscope, it's actually going like this, right? So right now, we're just going in the opposite direction of expansion, which is less volatile, but it's getting ready to expand. So when that happens, you're only dealing with two different things. Which support will break first, which resistance will break first. And so let's dive into the Ethereum chart to see where it would go in either case. Ready? And when that might happen. Okay, and again, you're gonna want to watch, if you're watching the recording of this and you haven't watched my Bitcoin analysis, I just let you know, it's gonna be a lot clearer. The signals on Bitcoin, when something really moves up or down and you get a full move out of it, like 8+%, it's going to be obvious. And it's going to be obvious on different, on US 500 chart as well. You're gonna wanna see that. It should be obvious on Ethereum as well. However, here are your levels. Actually, I'm missing one. So the middle of your range is right around 1220. Might call it 1221. So if it breaks below 1221, the obvious next target is right here. And if it breaks below there, well, then that means Bitcoin is going below its bottom target as well. So just use it like this. So we can essentially recalibrate our thought process. This is being defended. Either this will break first or this will break first. That is it. Right? Technically, you could argue that this is here, but the origin line is going to trump it, right? This line is more important than this macro horizontal, even though they're both pretty important, but it's the origin line so close that it'll cause price to go above that, this horizontal right here, and mess with the origin line. So that's why I'm ignoring this line right here, because it's too close to the origin line, and the origin line will trump it. And this box here is made from weekly candlesticks and candle bodies, or wicks and bodies from 2017. All right, so right now, which will break first? This horizontal or the origin line? If the origin line is broken and you see it used as support, even on 5-minute oscillations, your next obvious target is right here. The next one is there, the next one is here. Those are your next 3 targets. And it's going to be so obvious that it's getting ready to go climb up to want to touch those, because it has to get above this origin line first. It's that simple. It's going to be obvious, I'm telling you. Just like when the weekly 10 EMA was crossing below the weekly 89 EMA, and I made all those cross bad videos saying it's going to be a bloody 2022, as a lot of influencers were saying altcoin season 2022, and it was obvious to me. So, and I anticipate it's going to be exceedingly obvious here. But right now, is anything obvious? No. You either have to break this point or this point for it to be obvious. That's it. Until then, it's just flapping around, and your probabilities flip on each pass of this middle line. Right now, you have essentially 3 options. Go sideways, break above here, or break below here. So right now, until the middle line is broken, you're only thinking about 2. Continued boring and sideways, which honestly is what I mainly expect, because Bitcoin should be bumping its head on its origin line too, at least until early next week. Or break up. But when it crosses below here, you can stop thinking about these targets and then start looking for next targets down. Am I making sense there? Okay, So the next target's down. It's going to be this. And remember, when or maybe not remember, new viewers, when I make specifically black shapes on my chart, they're almost always hit. I mean, my KDA fans can vouch for that. I mean, it's way over 50%. Am I going to leave that black triangle there? Yeah, I am, actually. It's past December. Okay, so the next, if things start breaking down, you have another origin line that it already is ruled that it must be hit before price can sustainably stay above here, right? Sustainably. It does have permission for, it's 10% move above here on a failure pattern, which actually would make it easier to short, because once it goes back below here, that's when it will race to this origin line. But your next target, it's time dependent. If it happens sooner, let's say, because I'm guessing the breakdown won't happen until the second week of December. So this is about, let me go to a 2-hour chart so we can see this. Depending on when it occurs, those would be your next two targets. But on a wick basis, you have a massive horizontal just under this. So let's go to see what this is. Massive horizontal, like I said. But it's just under the origin line. So how do you reconcile that? Well, it's going to wick below the origin line and come back up to it, or use it as resistance. Even more bearish. But I think this line will be hit. So then on the next move down, it is possible that the 10s hold, the low thousands. But even if it does hold, I think it will wick down to touch that first. Bare minimum. On a wick basis. Like, it might literally only be there for 5 minutes. And that covers my expectations of sideways on a timing basis, specifically how Ethereum will behave if it were to break up to where it would go, and then the downside targets, and specifically what you're going to be looking for if those downside targets are initiated. And then in the meantime, as it's just flopping around, how to focus what your expectations on price are. Above this line, you're thinking two possibilities: more sideways, or it's going to try to break above this origin line. Or if it goes below here, you only have two things in mind as well: more sideways, or it's going to potentially break down below here. And if either of them, if it breaks down below, it's going to be extremely obvious, because it's going to use this as resistance, then head down fairly aggressively. So this analysis on Ethereum, feel free to go back, at points in this video where you can copy the chart. Put these lines on your chart. It's going to help you, I promise. I'm not always I don't have a perfect track record of guessing exactly how price will interact with the bumpers. But my track record of knowing what the bumpers are and what's in play, my track record's very, very, very good with that. So therefore, it would be very beneficial if you just took the time to put these lines on your chart, because these are going to be the bumpers very, very, very likely. All right. And either way, what happens, it's going to make things more obvious. Is that always the case with Ethereum price? No. Right now, it's going to be super obvious, because you have macro things in play, and they're all jammed together. All right. See ya.